give me an explanation of the words Adonai Vasu Barakas, their origin, their meaning?
Adonai, in that way, shall be a general representation of a certain level of non-physical energy, non-physical consciousness, sometimes attributed to what you might call the overall collective Christ consciousness, sometimes to one of the levels of consciousness that filters through or as the Christ consciousness that you may call angelic consciousness. All of these are very colloquial nomenclatures, however. The secondary has to do with filtering some of that particular style of consciousness through a particular format, a cultural format upon your planet that is very ancient, centered around the areas you would call the Himalayas, and therefore perhaps reflective of very ancient interpretations, very ancient relationships, and very ancient understandings of the world spirit, the collective soul, if you will. Repeat the third.
Barakas. Adonai Vasu Barakas.
References in our perception are scattered on the third. There seem to be many connections, many plug-ins to many different cultures at many different times, some of which may even be, in your terms, extraterrestrial in origin. It is a very ancient terminology in that sense, but it has become extremely mixed throughout the different cultures and evolutions upon your world.
It was used as a closing salutation on many tapes that I heard done by a channel 15 years ago from a space Space Brothers, the boys upstairs, as they call them. And I never knew.
There are girls here too.
Good.
Now, yes, that is some of the extraterrestrial energy we are connecting into. But it is not exclusive to the upstairs in that sense.
I see.
It has been utilized many times in many different cultures, many different sects of understanding upon your planet. It has to do, to some degree, with mirrors and reflectivity of consciousness. It has to do also with ancient intertwinings, some of them actually genetic, between your civilization and others, and the mirroring represented in that connotation as well. Some of it will reach deeply down into your ancient beginnings as physical beings upon your world. And let us say briefly, those that have been watching since then. To some degree, it is a symbol. It is a salutation of a gathering of consciousness, extraterrestrial in nature, which may generally be referred to simply as watchers, observers. For now, that is our perception. For now. How does that serve you?
That has. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sharing.
Hello, Bashar. Hello, hello.
To you.
It's really good to talk to you.
Why?
Well, because I have a project in mind, and I thought I'd broach it to you, a co-creation.
All right.
And a little background on it was that last year, not this last winter, but the winter before, when it rained so much, there was a manifestation on the hills above a little town named Gorman on the ridge route of your two favorite colors that you've given us in many meditations, the orange and the blue. And I came upon them Easter Sunday upon those hills the year before last Easter, a year ago Easter. And for 3 miles, it was brilliant orange. And in all the cracks of the hills, down through the little gullies, there was this beautiful blue of the lupin. Well, last year, there was not very much rain. And when I went up on Easter Sunday this year, hoping to see the same thing again, there was just a few flowers scattered on the hills. So I got this idea, because it was your two favorite colors, I thought...
I did not say they were my two favorite colors.
Not your two favorite, but two that you work with quite a bit.
Thank you.
And I thought maybe if I could use a little visualization and meditation.
Yes, you could.
And you could seed a few clouds. Maybe we could get a lot of rain going and come up next year with the same kind of manifestation that we came up with last Easter of 3 miles of brilliant orange hills with blue lupin in them.
How about if we seed a few hearts, a few souls, a few minds?
That sounds fabulous.
Then in that sense, go and be that bountiful, bountiful garden. Be there and radiate your energy. Be the crystal through which the white light of your higher consciousness will be broken down into the rays of blue and orange and fed into that field. Be the seed yourself.
Okay.
The energy of the universe is yours to flow through you as you wish. And you can create the necessary energy rain for those flowers. They will respond to you. Perhaps within a certain perimeter, you may have to stand in a few places to get them all to feel it.
You mean actually go up to the mountains and stand on...
Actually go up to the mountains.
Yeah, okay. I'll take a few people up there and we'll seed it this year. And we can all go up on a trip next year and maybe your spaceship can come over and say hello.
Maybe. Maybe not mine.
Okay, well...
Maybe another.
Uh-huh. Okay, and my other question was about lucid dreaming.
Yes.
I'm very interested in lucid dreaming. From the time I was a little girl, I was taught that it was one of the most efficient ways to change your reality, was to become a lucid dreamer and then to control your dream and have it come over into your...
It is very efficient, yes.
Okay, so deep inside of me is that training from when I was a very small child, and...
how far inside of you?
Deep.
Deep. Way down there.
Yes, right. Well, I'd like to call on that and know if there's anything that you could add to the techniques that I've been reading about and
yes, stop picturing it as being so deep. It is right on the surface. Okay. Otherwise, the most powerful light you could ever imagine will never reach it, will never illuminate it for you.
Oh.
Why keep it so deep?
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably what I have been doing.
All right.
Saying that it was back in my childhood.
Bring it up to the surface. The child is with you now. You are the child. Right now. Right now.
Okay, I feel that.
All right. Then it is with you right now.
Is there any...
You don't believe it, do you?
No, I guess I don't. I want to.
Why not just simply believe it and then go and dream?
Okay. All right. I will.
All right.
Thank you very much, Bashar.
Oh, thank you very much, little girl. Little flower girl. Sharing.
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
How are you?
Perfect.
Oh, good.
And how are you?
I'm very excited to be here.
Same thing.
I have a couple questions. The first one has to
Speak up.
The first one has to do with the animals on our planet.
Yes. Lovely, aren't they?
They are. They're wonderful. And I am wondering if are they conscious beings? Are they different from us? How are they different from us?
They are not self-analytical. That is the prime difference.
Mm-hmm. I guess what I want to know is how I can get in contact with them better, how I can communicate
with your
them
emotions, with your heart, with your understanding, with your love, with your sharing, with your joy, with your playing with them, with your entering their realm of nature, and getting in touch with the fact that they are also simply projections and aspects of your own consciousness. Getting in touch with those aspects of your consciousness will bring up within your imagination, your emotionality, and your physicality all the identificational vibrations you need to begin to relate to them as one of them, them and allow them to relate to you as you. For you are extensions in that sense.
That sort of gets into my second question, which is, I understand that I create my reality.
Right.
I also understand that there are other beings that exist apart from me.
All right, in a sense, yes.
Well, that's where I get confused. Where does that line lie? How?
It lies within you. And it isn't really, truly a line in that sense. The idea simply is to understand that whatever it is you experience, regardless of whether it is an interaction with another being or not, you must create in your reality your version of that being in order to perceive that you are interacting with them anyway. So what you are actually physically directly interacting with is still an extension of your energy. Even if it is a representational extension that represents someone else. You follow me?
Not exactly.
All right. Let us say that you have surrounded yourself with a wall of rubber, all right?
Okay.
Now, it is plain and smooth, perhaps if you wish, a 360-degree sphere of smooth, thin rubber.
Yes.
Now, you know there are other beings out there somewhere beyond the wall of rubber. When another being comes up and says, hello, anyone there? You say, yes, in here. Well, they may press their face into the rubber. And that may be an interaction with another being, but what you see is the rubber made of your own world. That is what allows you to perceive them. The rubber comes from you. You follow me?
Yes.
That is the analogy you can draw.
And animals are the same way.
In a sense, yes. Although, more precisely, the animals are the rubber.
You lost me there.
Animal consciousness, though it is its own consciousness, as the rubber is its own recognizably different material from you, is an extension of you, is an extension of creational energy manifesting in the format conducive to reflect in the most efficient possible way your particular connections to all that is through that particular scope, that particular aspect, that particular idea. Animal consciousness is the rubber. It is not really beyond the rubber. Now, in a sense, everything is the rubber. But animals are more just the rubber itself because they are not self-reflexively, analytically aware. They are aware, but only as pure consciousness. They are knowing consciousness, not thinking consciousness. They do not remove themselves from the essence, the fabric, the rubber of creation. Whereas what you call intellectualized sapient beings can create the illusion that they are something separate from the rubber and then use the rubber to create a representational format in which they can reconnect in order to be able to interact in an apparently remote way. You follow me?
A little bit.
All right. It has sunk in.
Yes.
Let it play itself out in your imagination. Dream and drift about it. Muse about it. Contemplate about it. Do so in nature, and the animals will reflect, as the loving guides and reflections that they are, all that you need to understand about your relationship to each other.
Good.
It does not have to be an analytical understanding.
Yes, that's true. Just in response to that, I usually have very clear dreams that I remember very well, but I have not been for the last week or so.
You are simply not yet used to the fact that you are beginning to blend the dream and the physical reality together as one. There is some confusion on your part because it is not as clear-cut a separation anymore.
That's very true. I have one more quick question, and this is in response to, I heard you about a month ago talk about the fact that there are a lot of people in our government that know about you and have interacted with you.
Not me specifically,
you
but
as
the various civilizations in the association, yes.
Yes. Where I work, we had a presentation not too long ago by a man from the Air Force about our role in space exploration, our Earth's role, named Joseph Angelo, and I wondered if he was one of those people.
Not directly.
Okay.
But there are, in your terms, orders being passed down, filtered down to certain individuals to get them to function within an overall plan of timing that is conducive to the revelation by your government of the information that they are aware of. Even though many of the individuals in that plan do not know there is a plan.
Okay, I just wondered because he seemed to be expressing a lot of the ideas and philosophies that I'm hearing here.
He has his own understanding of this as well, quite apart and aside from the intimate knowledge that certain other individuals may have. He is generally aware of what is going on, and that is why you are picking up that general representation. But it is not a direct understanding. It is what you would call speculation that is mostly accurate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rainbows to you. Shedding.
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
A couple of months ago, I was sick and was in the hospital, and I came to see you after that little bout, and you had told me to do what excited me most, and that things would come through in my dreaming state. And after that, about a couple of weeks after that, because I didn't remember anything for a couple of weeks, but after that, about every 3 days, I dream about swimming with whales.
Nice.
And it's very real.
Oh, yes,
it's like
it is. Very
I
real.
am swimming with them, and
Yes. They are swimming with you.
yeah, it's wonderful.
Yes.
And I a couple of nights ago, I had a dream where I was with a friend of mine who is a little fearful, I think, of the possibility of actually doing it in the physical reality. And we were near this tank, and there were 3 large whales, and they were swimming around and around, and we were petting them and touching them and talking with them. And a man came in the back, and I don't know who the man was. There was no face attached. But he had said something, and all of a sudden I, for the first time, got fearful of their size. And immediately the 3 whales disappeared, along with my friend. And my husband was there all of a sudden, and there was a baby whale. And I was touching it, and everything was okay again.
Nice.
My question is now I'm confused.
Why?
Well, now I don't know what to do. I'm like, do I go try and find a job where I swim with whales, or?
If that excites you.
I don't. Well, it does.
Well, then.
Then go do that.
You don't have to try to find it.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to attract the obvious opportunity by placing yourself in whatever environment is conducive to being asked.
I see. Okay.
And simply remember that that individual was a part of your timing to allow you to examine at that moment whether the reflection of the infinite power from that whale that reflects back to you your own infinite power is something you believe you can handle at this point.
Right. Well, I remember asking you if I could swim with the whales,
Okay.
because everybody had been talking about swimming with dolphins and everything, and that was okay, and you said yes, why not,
Nice.
And I got very excited about that possibility, and I went home and told my husband and a friend about it, and both of them got very fearful about the size of the whale.
Nice.
And I said that the whale knows their size, and they know my size, and they would never hurt me. It would be okay.
Correct. But the idea is that individuals who fear them for that reason usually are not in touch with the size of their own power and fear it.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay.
And that is what you were given an opportunity in that moment to decide for yourself. Whether
Right.
it is truly something you know, regardless of its size, is a gentle, loving energy, or whether you will simply let that, the idea of the size, be something that will invoke your excitement into fear.
Could that have been what that male voice was in the dream behind me?
Yes.
Was my fear coming through?
It was, in a sense, some assistance to give you an opportunity to hear and feel the fear come through so you could decide whether it really had anything at all to do with your reality or not.
Oh.
And you immediately allowed yourself to bring it down to size.
Oh, okay.
Same
Good.
concept, but a baby.
Right. Okay. Good.
It will always conform to whatever parameters allow you to continue to participate in a comfortable and loving manner.
Okay.
Always.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Say hello.
I will, thanks.
Going to. From happy to ecstatic and back to happy again. Like that.
Forever a wise guy.
Let us simply say there may be moments within what you would perceive to be our demeanor where we would seem to be perhaps intent upon something. But there is always contentment with that.
So you're simply focused more in certain directions
Perhaps,
at times, okay.
That may create an apparency of fluctuation. And it is fluctuation, but not within what you would call a wide range of emotional fluctuation.
Gotcha. Some reflection on personal experiences that occurred recently, actually been going on for some time. We've addressed this, I think most of the answers are there, but it has to do with...
Shall we now undress it?
Yes, undress it. I like that concept very much. Anyway, it has to do with the fact that on a number of occasions I have got excited about things, had them go extremely well, and then for no apparent reason, have them go wrong.
Wrong?
Wrong, meaning heavy fluctuations in emotion appear to be able to not sustain the excitement or to have the specific materialization. Now, I know that this, you speak of the subject of expectancy, and one comes back to simply allowing what occurs to occur.
Yes, and recognizing what is occurring to be a part of the change you have made, and ceasing to assume that it is an indication of an interruption in that idea.
That's part of what I need some would like some reflection on, because it seemed to fall into the old pattern of...
Why do you continue to assume? Let me put it this way.
Sure.
The old pattern, if it is anything, is your continuance to assume that you are falling back into an old pattern.
No, I'm simply trying to look at it. This is not true. I don't expect these things to occur.
That's not the point.
Okay.
What we are saying is that when they do, you are saying that you continue to evoke the old pattern of assuming that these things that have occurred are the wrong things, rather than knowing you have changed, and therefore what is occurring is the thing that is indicative of the change and not an interruption in the change.
Understood intellectually. Emotionally, you've got, I have an excitement going, something is flowing in a particular direction, and then there is the feeling, I know this is possibly not, you're not too familiar with feeling like crap, but I can get an exterior view, I can take the exterior point of view that you have, but I'm not sure whether you are familiar with the with that kind of vibration being stuck in that sort of a heavy, condensed, emotional type of
We
pattern.
can recall from the experience of the physical channel's life in terms of our past experience in that way to some degree.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure that the exterior viewpoint always has a degree of workability.
Yes. Why doesn't yours?
Because it gets introverted instead of
Why
extroverted.
does it get introverted?
Because of my judgments on the energy that materializes.
Why do you
It
judge
was
them?
unexpected.
Why do you judge them?
Habit, I suppose.
Why do you have that habit?
Good question.
Well, if you continue, I shall say, to bring yourself back to the level of looking at the habit you believe you have, then work with that idea while you're on that level, perhaps as a suggestion. And speaking in your colloquial terms, the reason you keep bringing yourself back to that point perhaps is because you haven't dealt with that point yet. Perhaps there is something you are not looking at, not dealing with before you go on. Perhaps you are attempting to circumvent something you really know deep down inside of you you need to look at first.
Obviously.
All right. So, how does having the habit, if you believe you have it, how does that serve you? What is there within the idea of having that habit that you need to look at?
It sticks your nose back into the situation that you haven't been looking at, I suppose.
All right, that may be one idea. There may be things about yourself that you are avoiding looking at.
Let me give you a specific example, because I seem to be getting a little bit off of this. I have someone that I love very much, and we've been having experience of abundance, and then there materializes an apparency of having to go back to struggle, resulting in grief.
Way?
To have financial freedom to move around. The person feels that, we were flowing, creating a certain abundance.
An abundance of some specific idea?
Money.
Why just that focus?
I didn't have just that focus, but I found that she fell into the concept of having to go back to struggle in order to survive. And I felt empathy for that.
So,
I wasn't certain how to handle it.
All right. Empathy, A, does not have to mean sympathy, nor does it have to mean sharing the idea in your reality.
There wasn't sympathy.
All right.
There was a bit of sadness.
Well, then, sympathy.
Okay. Touche.
Now, the idea of watching another individual go through the fluctuations of their understanding of abundance, if that be the thing they are working through, does not, in your terminology, even though you are quote-unquote bonding with them, have to necessarily create fluctuations in your life that you must experience in the same way. If you agree to go through fluctuation because the other individual is going through fluctuation, then your solid trust and faith and belief in what your fluctuations represent as a positive idea can allow you, in translating them in a positive way and seeing positive manifestation in your life occur from treating it that way, can allow you to function as a reflective positive mirror for another individual going through what may on the surface appear to be similar fluctuations, but which they may be choosing to interpret as negative. So you can act as a polarity, again the idea of the gear, the two sides of the gear. Just because another individual sees the fluctuations as representing a left hand, if you wish, or a negative turn, doesn't mean you have to, even in experiencing the same surface manifestations, doesn't mean you have to interpret them in the same way. You can reflect your interpretation in a positive direction of the same fluctuations. Again, remember, no circumstance has built-in meaning. Just because they look the same, just because you are going through the same scenario, doesn't mean it will affect you in the same way if you don't have a similar attitude to someone who is going through it and choosing to look at it as a negative experience.
Yeah, I think I tend to fight the experience that they have.
You might just be assuming that simply because you are in the same boat, you have to be seeing the same ocean. And that is not true.
Yeah, no, I don't, Bashar. What tends to happen is...
Now, one moment.
Go ahead.
Nothing tends to happen.
Agreed. Okay, poor choice of words. Which reflect, I understand.
Go ahead and define.
I will be almost projecting a mental bolt that's too strong that says, no, you don't have to think of it this way.
All right. Now, there's a very strong and important clue for you as well. For you may be focusing on the fact that you fear you will fall into it so strongly that you automatically do. You don't have to fight that off.
You hit a chord there.
Just know that you don't prefer it that way. And if for a moment, because of the empathy, because you wish to identify, because you wish to understand what someone else is going through, if for a moment you identify to the point where you experience the same idea, you empathize, doesn't mean it has to continue for longer than the moment it takes to understand what they are going through so you can help them.
Right.
So, do not fear that just because you do perceive the identification of what they are going through, that it becomes a scenario you have to fight back. For that attitude in and of itself will plop you squarely in their ocean.
Lovely. That's very helpful.
Thank you for opening that door. It was well oiled.
Thank you. You're a good friend, Bashar. What was the question you wanted to ask about?
This material meditation.
Best material for meditation pyramid.
Perhaps copper, in the idea that it is a very strong electromagnetic conductor in that way.
Lovely.
One side facing magnetic north. All right?
You're as clever as we are, Bashar.
Clever.
You
Have
got
I just been insulted?
You got no. Only if you choose to assign that meaning to it.
I will take it as a compliment.
Oh, well, good. That is the way it was meant.
Oh, I know. But you know how much fun we love to have with you.
I know. Together.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hello. Sharing.
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
Good to see you. And I'm really sharing this evening.
By all means.
Oh, great.
Speak up, be bold, and share.
Okay.
I will take.
Oh. All right.
Enjoy your share.
Thank you. Okay. Well, last week I learned to follow the excitement. So I thought, well, I'll do it. So I decided, well, I needed a job at the time. So one of the things I did was call up a company I used to work for, and I couldn't have just an ordinary job. I had to have the best exec secretary job there. So I used to work there, and the executive I called said, "How did you know?" I said, "Know what?" And he said, "My secretary's leaving, and I need someone. How could you possibly know? We haven't told anyone or posted it or put an ad in the paper." And I went, "Well, what can I say? This is the truth of what's happening." And he says, "Well, get over here." So I went over there and had a nice reunion with them, and then I was in waiting, okay? And I didn't really know if I had it, but I was pretty sure I did. So I had some considerations on it, though. I thought, geez, I'm going to get stuck in this job. It's going to take up so much of my time. I'm a singer also, so I need a lot of other time. And and I had these considerations like, oh, God, it's going to be full-time. I'm not going to have enough time, right? So it just kind of floated along for 2 weeks while I was listening to Bashar tapes and everything. And then there's another excitement in my life to follow, and I thought, well, that's cooking on the back burner. I'll go off and follow this other one. And so I made a reunion with a very dear friend of mine who was appearing at the Anaheim Convention Center last Saturday. And I went, and I was so excited to see him again, and it was packed there. And I went with two of my friends here tonight, and we were sitting there waiting for the show to start, and my one friend, Lila, said, "Why don't you go down backstage before the show starts?" And I went, "Oh, no, he's busy. I haven't seen him in 3 years," and all that kind of shit. Just go. I went, all right. So I went back downstairs, and there was this gate. And right at this gate was a man, and he had a little uniform on and a name tag that said Marty. And I said, "Hello, I'm a friend of Jose's, and I'm here to see him." And he goes, "I'm sure you are." And he just opened the gate. Right? And yeah, I just walked right on through. And I went backstage, and I just had this most incredible reunion with him. And he asked me, "Please stand beside the bandstand while I do the concert." And I said, "I'd love to." So I just stood there, and when his opening number, it was just so incredible, the excitement and ecstasy of that moment with the crowd and everything and the orchestra, and I just stood there and realized I am living my dream. Hey!
Yes, yes.
'Cause that's what I wanted to do, and there I was, and I went, this is where I belong. All right. So I had two really great, tremendous things happen, and then I started having a dream. Okay. And I dreamt that I was going into, I thought it was a car wash, right? And I thought I was in my car, but I like my little car, and it's kind of like a little spaceship, you know. And I drove into this place, and it was all white and misty. And I went, well, it's not really a car wash, so. So I got out of my car, and it was more like a bay, like a big bay, you know, like a docking bay or something. And I got out of my car, and I stepped back, and I took some things out of the car to throw in the garbage that I didn't want. And my car immediately transformed into what I thought was this beautiful white motorhome. And I went, this is beautiful, right? And I went, wow. So I went inside, and everything looked familiar to me. And I went, yeah, that's mine. Okay, and then I went outside. Oh, I was about to go outside, and this man came in. And he resembled a man who had threatened me once in my life. And I had a trickle of fear for a second, then I went, right? And the guy came towards me, and he just looked at me, and I just put it out there, hey, no negativity. So, so instead of harming me, he just went around and he picked up some of my belongings, and he just started putting them in an order that I didn't approve of, okay? And I went, okay. And I just walked out. I didn't get all caught up in it, right? So I walked out, and I'm standing there, and I turn around, and to my left is this guy, and he's like 8 feet tall, 7 or 8 feet tall. I mean, I had to go like that, you know, I'm short, but I looked at him, and I went, gee, that's weird, I haven't seen you before. Right, and he goes, well, I've seen everything that's happened. And I went, really? And as I kept perceiving him, I could perceive him even more. And here was this gorgeous man. He was blonde. He had giant blue eyes, beautiful light tan golden skin, flashing perfect white teeth. He was gorgeous, right? And I went, wow. And he had white on. He was just, wow, right? And he came around. And he came around behind me, and I went, whoa. And he put his... and I was so like, wow. And he put his arms around me from behind. And I felt as though I was being enveloped in wings or something. It was so wonderful. And he put forth to me the most love I have ever experienced. And I melded with this person. And
yes, you did. For it is you. It is your own future beingness. Welcome home.
Thank you.
To that space, to that ship, and to yourself, which has beckoned you from across the ages. More communications will ensue. More connection. More acceleration. More ecstasy, believe it or not.
Can't hardly take anymore.
Oh yes, you can. Perhaps not the you are now, but the you are becoming will always be able to let more in and give more out.
Wow.
At this timing, we will extend our appreciation for your sharing.
Thank you.
And will suggest that each and every one of you live your break. We will resume contact momentarily.
Thank you.